Welcome back to 3 Point Firefighter. Today's guest is Rocco Alvaro. Now, Rocco Alvaro, besides having the second coolest name in the fire department, he's a battalion chief with Fairfax County Fire and Rescue Department. He's currently assigned to the training division and is the section lead for professional development. He's directly responsible for the organization's leadership and professional development training. And that's how he kind of came into my universe. I was scrolling through Facebook. I saw an amazing 31-second video of him talking to some new recruits, and the passion and the subject really got me. So I had to talk to this guy, and believe me, I was not disappointed. He's an amazing human being. He's passionate not only about the fire service, but making sure that leadership is done right. And with that, Rocco Alvaro. Today's episode is brought to you by Fire Facilities. Make training count with their custom-made, all-steel live fire training facilities. Their made-in-the-USA towers and burn rooms are the best for preparing, responding, and surviving the challenges you face every day. See here, about 15, 20 minutes ago, I'm on my computer in my office, and sure enough, I'm like, okay, we're meeting at 5, it's almost 4. And then something makes me look at that email again. And I look at my text, and I'm like, one says 4, one says 5. And I'm like, oh, not a problem. I'm not doing anything. That's when I texted you. I'm like, hey, cool, we can make this work. Then then it all fell apart. So like my big expensive microphone, the cable broke completely. So I've been trying to get it to work. Well, the one new cable only is really short, so I had to get rid of one computer, bring in another computer. Then the microphone didn't work, but the microphone worked, but it was just one cascading event after the other. So I apologize if the sound quality on this one isn't as good as the Shure here, but I've done so much in the past few minutes. I'm impressed with myself. I should give myself a raise. I really should.
Yeah, absolutely. Or a promotion to like IT technician.
Exactly. So since I've moved computers, you'll see me while we're talking look this way. That's because those show notes that I have are on that computer. Okay. So I'm not being rude or nothing. I'm just trying to see where we're at with that. So, But brother, it means a lot for me to be on here. Thank you very much.
Hey, listen, thanks for reaching out, Jake. Trust me, man, I am honored to be on your show. I can't wait, man. I can't wait to see what this discussion brings. Hopefully we can keep it clean and professional. You know, sometimes I have been known to go off the rail every now and then, which in the past may have held up a promotion or two. That's only because I was misunderstood.
Well, see, they didn't understand you. I understand you. See, yeah. Now, see here in the back, you see that pillow there? I got that for Christmas from my in-laws. It's a big penis pillow.
Nice. I see it.
I think that's they were trying to tell me something, but they were in-laws after all. But when this show airs, I will have been officially retired. What about that?
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm 99% sure I'm going to retire.
Holy cow. How much hard time do you have?
30 years total, 20 in this last department. The actual, pension will come from them. Before that, I was at Lexington Fire Department in Kentucky, and then I was in the military as a firefighter in the Air Force. So about 30 years.
That's awesome, man. That you know what? Congratulations.
Thank you very much. You're the first person outside of this house to know. How's that?
I'm not going to tell anyone.
Rob Blassetti doesn't even know.
I'm gonna text him afterwards. I'm gonna text him right now.
Oh, bro, he'll flip out. He'll flip out, man. He'll text me. You didn't tell me. You told him first. Yeah, sorry.
Man, sorry. Listen, it's all about timing, pal. Where were you?
Exactly.
Chief stuff down in Florida. Kind of bull.
Florida. Anybody can live in Florida.
Englewood. Where is that? Is that in this country?
It's not. Florida's not in this country.
It's not. It should not be. Cuba should annex Florida, and I'd be happy.
There you go. So you're the third person from Fairfax. I sort of have a little crush on Fairfax Fire. Not several years ago, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. I also worked for the ISFI's contract instructor with Rob, and we were at Fairfax teaching the basement fire class.
I
Were you
remember.
there at all?
I
Okay.
was.
Okay, so I was there and I fell in love with the department. I always say you can tell a lot about the culture of a fire department by their training grounds. If your bosses care, you're gonna have a great training grounds. If they don't care, that's a simplistic view, and I'm sure there's exceptions, but I came to I came to Fairfax and fell in love with it, man. And everybody I met there was nice. The training staff was nice. The training grounds were amazing. So yeah, you're the third person. Had Rob, and then I had Stephanie White, and now I have you. So what got me about you was you came into my universe. I was just scrolling through Facebook. That's all I was doing, brother. And there was this great video. The video I was texting you about this morning because I had originally lost it, and I'll try to find a way to get that off of Facebook for everybody so they can actually see it. I'll put a link down in it. But here's what I saw. The video was probably 30 seconds long, if that. Um, so that's all I got to see of you. And it looked like you were talking to new recruits, is what I believe you were doing. But the passion, brother, I'm telling you, you were in your sweet spot, I guess, because that passion just was just pouring out. And you were talking about the importance of character uh, in their job. And you said something to the effect of, you can pick the day you start, and you can pick the day you stop. Everything else in between is kind of up for grabs. And that character will probably, here's what I took from it, that your character in the fire service will ground you and will help you in your career. Dude, that blew me away. I got on the phone, got a hold of Rob. Well, first I didn't know it was Fairfax. I was like, I got to figure, and I looked, I was like, Fairfax? Of course it's Fairfax. So I got a hold of Rob, and he's like, in his New York accent, New Jersey accent, whatever it is. He's like, "Oh yeah, bro." He goes, "That's Rocco. I got you. I got you." I'm like, "All right, cool, cool." So that's how you kind of came into my universe, and it just blew me away. When anybody can get my attention that quickly and show their passion that quickly, I got to talk to them. I just have to talk to them. So, do you remember the video I'm talking about?
I certainly do, and I remember the class. Um, Again, it's only like you said, Jake. It's a 30-second clip of a 2-hour presentation, and it's just not delivered by me.
Mhm.
We have a good leadership team um, that delivers. We team teach, right? I believe in that philosophy of team teaching. I think it really
Yes.
rounds out the class because you're listening to just more than one voice, right? I just happened to be up there. Our one of our PIOs was in the room, videotaping segments, and I had no idea it made it to social media. I didn't know for weeks until I got a phone call. Actually, it was my daughter. My daughter, who follows Fairfax County Fire and Rescue, said, "Hey, Dad, look at this." And I don't have a social media account.
Right.
So I had to go on to our department website, and you can access our social media through our department website. And I did that. And I'm like, oh boy, I had no idea. I'm like, geez, how many times did I curse? Because I obviously from New York as well, upstate New York, from Syracuse, as you can see with my shirt.
Yeah. Come
Um,
on.
there is a propensity for me to use some profanity in my presentations. There's no
Sentence
malice.
enhancers. They're sentence enhancers, not
Yes,
profanity.
yes, yes. So I was like, I sat, I listened to it and listened to it. I'm like, man, what did I say that really is going to come back to haunt me? Uh, Nothing came back to haunt me. It's actually, I could not believe how many hits and views it's gotten. And I'm not big in, I have no idea what that means. I just know we received a shitload of comments, a ton of views. But one of the comments, I did not know this. Someone pointed it out to me because, they had to get me, Jake, right? They're like, "Hey, man, love your video. It's great." I'm like, "Yeah, it's good stuff." So have you read any of the comments? I'm like, no, no. Sign on and please read some of the comments. I'm like, awesome. Comments are great. Awesome. Thumbs up. You guys are doing great. Typical same stuff you'd always see, right? Hey, go to the
Mhm.
next page of comments. Same stuff. Get to the third page of comments. And wouldn't you know it, someone on there called me an a-hole. I swear, I'm not kidding you. The comment was, "I could never work with that a-hole."
Wait a minute. So they weren't kidding you? They weren't like setting you up for a
No, I
joke?
had no idea who. Just some stranger just commented openly on social media because it is a public social media site, and of course, they were just making fun. Like this guy doesn't even know you. I'm like, number one, Jake, how did he know I was an a hole? Because I am an a hole, right? The only person that's allowed to call me an a hole is my wife. That's it, Jake. That's it. Because when she calls me an a hole, it's because I did something wrong. You're a complete stranger calling me an a-hole. I'm like, I don't know if I'm offended, or if I should be offended, or if it's like, oh, he's got me figured out.
I'm going to put the video right here, right now, and let everybody listen to it and let them decide if you're an a-hole. And they're going to email me at they're going to email me at 3pointfirefighter at gmail.com, and I will pass it on to you. How many people thought you were an a-hole versus how many people thought you were an outstanding firefighter? Now, so here's the video. All right, and we're back. And although you and I really didn't see the video because I don't have it on here, I have seen the video several times now, and you definitely weren't an a-hole at all. So that guy, we need to find out, maybe dox that guy and see where he's at and why he called you an a-hole.
I know. I'm thinking, how does that guy even know me, man? It's a 30-second clip, and you're going to call me a name? You disparage me over, I'm just talking about character? Give me a break, man.
And the thing about it, it's weaponized anonymity. That's all the internet is. That same person would never say that to your face. He's a keyboard warrior, and he probably disagrees with you because he doesn't know what character is.
Absolutely. And come sit through that entire 2-hour lecture, and you'll realize that it goes deeper than just about character development and leadership development. We really focus hard on on followership within that presentation. So no, it's all good stuff. And if you look at the video itself, that little clip, again, it's 30 seconds, right? And listen, man, I'm Italian. I'm a very proud immigrant that came over here when I was 3 years old with my parents and my older sister. So I'm animated. And, what makes it worse? I'm from New York, which is even now, kind of compounds everything, right? And if you notice, I talk with my hands. So you handcuff those two hands, and you're almost going to mute me, right? But to me, it's just I'm trying to make a point. And the point I made there, we've all heard the story of the dash, right? The dash on your gravestone. That is you, man. That's what you did. And Jake, as you exit the fire service, right? And as I get close to that point when I exit the fire service, you have to ask yourself, man, what did you do? Like, what mark did you leave on the next generation of followers, the next generation of leaders? What did you do for the fire service? What did you do for your department, your community, and your patch? That patch, to me, means so much. And I just get passionate about it. And that's what you saw in that clip. It means something to me. And I realize that my days are numbered. That I've only got but so much time to impart knowledge. I've only got so much time to sit and craft and help the next generation to become better, right? Because if you look at a 3-point firefighter, right, I believe it's pride, tradition, and physical fitness, right?
Damn close. Pride, training, and physical fitness. Although I'm liking the tradition part too.
Tradition's good.
4-point firefighter.
4-point firefighter, right? It'll never tip over. But it's about pride, training, and physical fitness, right? That's the mark you're leaving on the fire service. I've only got so much time left, Jake, and I just want to do a good job and build the next leader. I don't want to be remembered as that guy. I just want to go down and say, when I sign my papers to leave, I've done everything I can do to make my department and the fire service better than I found it. That's all I want to say. And if I can,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's what you should do. And I can honestly say, and people that consistently listen to my podcast, they know this about me. I had a serious time in my career where I was just a lazy piece of shit. I really was. And it's one thing not to contribute to your department, but I felt like I was holding others back. I was being lazy. I was being entitled. I was being that guy. And when I snapped out of it, and I realized, like you said, I have a responsibility to give back to the fire service. I have a responsibility to give back to my fire department, and I have a responsibility to me, and when I realized that, it changed my entire trajectory. Now, even though I'm retired, I'm not done with the fire service. I'm still teaching in the fire service. I'm still doing my podcast in the fire service. I'm still doing fire service stuff. I'm just not associated with the fire department, the a particular fire department. And what I like, and here's why you need to get on social media more often, okay? That one little video of you has caused quite a stir for you, right? 99% of it was good. You've heard good things. Well, now imagine your great, great, great grandkids being able to hear your voice and see you on a video and hear your passion for the job. That was never a thing for me when I started the podcast, but once that stuck in my brain, I'm like, wow, you know, do you know what your great, great, great grandfather sounded like? Do you know what his passions were? No, you don't. But our great, 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 great grandkids are going to be able to hear that and see that. And the words that we're saying and the things that we're saying hopefully will be used for future generations of firefighters. And I like that idea. I feel like that is given back and that is a legacy and that is a tradition. So I think it's fantastic, brother. And I mean, again, your passion, you're not letting me down, put it this way. That wasn't just a one off passion. I can tell right now how much you love the job, brother. I love it. I love it.
It definitely wasn't a one-off, and it's interesting that my families are the ones that saw it first and texted me and said, "Hey, Dad, check this out." Within just a couple of days, and it had already been viewed a ton of times. But my oldest daughter, commented in a text, a group family text. She says, "And this is why I named um, our son after you. We just had our first grandson, right? Emily
Congratulations.
and Sam gave us Hudson Rocco. So thanks for that. And to me, that has more value and more importance than many, many other things in life is having a grandson now. First one, going on 8 months old. Literally just took his first crawling steps today, which is awesome. He's been
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
you know, physical fitness, right, Jake? You know the
I
deal,
have it.
man. Physical
Got to do the
fitness.
core.
My man has been planking it out for the last 2 months. Can't figure out to go left or right, forward or back, but he can plank with the best of them. Today, my man planks going forward. It's like, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that
He
meant
sounds
a
like a
lot.
firefighter.
Yeah, that meant a lot. But you're right, though, Jake. It is, man. It's those legacies we leave behind, and it doesn't matter what rank you are, from fire, from probationary, from recruit, all the
Mhm.
way to fire chief. It doesn't matter who you are. We all leave our legacy. And had a good discussion with a fire chief not that long ago. We talked about legacy and some difficult decisions that fire chief has to make coming up. Um, and it all comes down to making those tough decisions so that you can leave a positive legacy, right? And my interpretation of that, Jake, is, hey, listen, man, here's the deal, Jake. Before you got hired in the fire service, before I got hired, there were people that laid down the path for us, right?
Right.
And those people that came before us, guess what they had to walk on? They walked on hot coals. They walked on glass. The road wasn't paved. It wasn't paved, but they
Mhm.
laid down pavers for us. They made it a little bit smoother for us to walk on. And that's what you and I are doing, Jake. And that's
Mhm.
what everyone else in the fire service has to do. Is at one point in their career, they're going to walk on those hot coals. They're going to
Mhm.
walk on glass. They're going to walk on an unpaved road. Well, your job as a leader is to lay down a paved brick so that those that come after you can walk on a smooth road. That's the legacy. That's why you and I are here. That's why I'm committed to developing characters, to developing recruit firefighters into probationary firefighters, into leaders, into leaders. That's our job.
Well, what are you seeing? I couldn't agree more. What are you seeing in today's recruit that you didn't see when you started? Because everybody likes to talk generational differences, and there just are generational differences. Where I start to disagree is how you handle generational differences. For example, I worked with a guy that said, "You joined us, we didn't join you," and that just I cringe when I hear that. The unwillingness. My experience has been this: the unwillingness of a department or a staff to embrace the changes of the different generations of their different recruits is an anchor to that department, as opposed to understanding, knowing, and being able to change your modalities of teaching those people. So, what have you seen? What do you believe in when it comes to that kind of thing with the newer recruits?
I'm not sure I buy into the whole generational thing. Again, a lot of it is environmental. It's the experiences that all of us go through in those years that were being formed, right? Those younger years that were being formed. Um, it's just all experiences, right? But what I'm seeing is, at least in our recruit schools, I'm seeing individuals that are smarter, that are wiser, that are more in tune to their environment, definitely more IT savvy, but they also ask questions. They're not afraid. Like in our discussions, in our lectures, they ask questions. They just want to know. They want to know the why behind something. Tell me why, how, and what. I got you. I got you.
Yep.
If you're just looking for the why behind why we do character leadership lectures, why we do leadership in recruit schools, I can explain why. I can explain why it's better for you to surround yourself around transformational leaders than it is around to surround yourself with, let's say, autocratic and dictator style leaders, right? But
Right.
also, I can teach you how to be aware of those leaders and how to modify your behavior so that you can work well in that environment, right? It's just answering their why. That's all they want to know. And if you think about it, there is a trend, there is an uptick in today's fire service where we're now starting to see an uptick in individuals leaving the fire service from year one to year seven, right? And that data I think is going to be more established as we go forward into 2024 and beyond. So you have to ask yourself, what are we doing wrong as a
Mhm.
fire service, as an agency, not to retain these people? Is it because we don't create an environment that empowers them, that fosters them to have a voice, that engages them, that challenges them? Like I said, Jake, these kids are smarter. They want to be challenged. They just don't
Mhm.
want to be told, hey, take that line, take that ladder, go here, here, and here, and you're done. They're going to ask why, which we should explain why, but we
Right.
also need to challenge them because in a 24-hour shift, how much of it is spent running calls? A lot of it is just spent back at the station, right?
Yeah.
That's that downtime where we need to engage this generation, these newer employees, these newer probationary firefighters in dialogue, in thought provoking, critical thinking dialogue that challenges them and that also focuses them on the future of where we're heading as an agency and as a fire service.
I love it because you're we agree with each other. I mean, that's you got to take that into consideration. Why is super important. You had mentioned autocratic, right? And so out of all the leadership styles, the two that always come up in the fire service is autocratic and democratic. And to make my point, when I came in the fire service, it was very autocratic. It was clean the shitters, pull the hose, get on the truck. You don't ask why, you just do it, right? Now, I'm not saying it was a nightmare. It wasn't. It was the environment which I grew up in the fire service. Have no problems with it. That's not my style, right? So as we go on through my career, what I started noticing was less and less autocratic, more and more democratic. And I think that's okay. I think it's a dynamic landscape that when it comes to leadership and understanding followership, all of that stuff, I really believe you have to have as many tools in your toolbox. And for those old boomers, so I had boomers that were, I'm Gen X, the best generation, obviously. I mean, that's just how it is. I had boomers, and boomers learned from traditionalists. So we had people that were in the war that, that's all they knew was that military style, and they brought it to the fire service. Well, now we're getting more and more people that are not that. They're not necessarily tradesmen or they've been in the military. So we have to kind of change the way we look at ourselves and look at others. And for the best, our number one goal is to keep our community safe. And if we keep that in mind, we have no choice but to try to understand the generations. We have no choice but to try to tell them the why. And I think it's a fantastic thing. And I get excited about it. I'm a training officer for my department. So I got to train a bunch of new guys constantly. And there was a time where a guy kept asking me why, and I didn't know, I got so aggravated. And then I learned really quickly after I started delving into generational stuff that the why is just something they need. And the biggest reason most people like myself don't want to give you whys is because I didn't know. I didn't always know. And so when somebody challenged me, my ego's like, well, who are you to tell me? So I had to get over that. I had to get over that ego. And I had to either say, this is why, or I don't know right now, but I will get you that answer. So I think it's important because when you start, when you are blessed with the responsibility of training new people, you have to take that seriously. And you have to realize the investment that you are making towards your fire department and your community. It's just too valuable a thing. So those people that come and go quickly and just do their little part, I'd rather them not even train them. If you're going to get a guy for 2, 3 hours tell you about, how to forcible entry, and they don't have any passion and they don't have any reasons why you do this or tell you why you do this, I got no use for them. I really don't, because it's just too big a deal. I'm kind of on a soapbox now. When you train new guys, you're doing way more than training them. You're influencing the culture and the society of your department on down the road. Full
You nailed
stop.
it, Jake. No, you absolutely nailed it, my friend. And let me tell you what, man. Let's take it one step further, right? Like, and you nailed it, right? The old autocratic style, right? Back in the day, we forced people to meet us where we were, right? Hey,
Mhm.
man, it's going to be this way. You're going to meet me on my grounds, on my terms. Listen, man, those days are done. Those days are done. These people that we're hiring now, these great folks that we're hiring, we have to meet them where they are. And that's the only way you're going to keep these people. Number one, that's the only way you're going to recruit them, right? To show
Right.
them care, that you're compassionate. And keeping them, retaining them, is showing them that you want to empower them, give them a voice, and make them part of a team, because firefighting is a team sport, right?
Yes.
The days of man, those days are done. It is a team sport. We do things together, right? But also, I'll share a quick story with you. This is like my third stint at the training academy. And actually, my humble beginnings were was with MIFRE, training at MIFRE, the University of Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute. That's where I started training back in the early 90s. I had a job there, and going to school at the University of Maryland. Um, I tell you, that those are my beginnings at the training academy. But long story short, this is like my third stint at our training division, and I was the first. Our chief came in. He said, "Hey, man, we have an officer development section. I want to expand it. I want to make it a professional development section. Tag Rocco, you're it." Um, I'm a battalion chief in the 6th Battalion. Like, I'm working the highway. I don't have time. Like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm in Job Town, Fire Factory, like, you name it. Like, the world is burning down, and I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the center of this universe. I cannot go up there. You don't understand. Again, ego mentality, closed
Yeah.
minded. I focused on me. And for like 3 months, I'm going to say it, I was an a hole, because you took me out of my comfort zone and you put me back at the academy on day work where I didn't want to be. So for 3 months, I failed. I
Mhm.
failed the agency, I failed the community, and I failed our people. Those are the three pillars that support our patch. And I preach that all the time, right? The community comes first. I failed them for 3 months, failed. My
Mhm.
biggest my biggest black eye in my career is for 3 months, I whined like a little baby. Once I got over that, I had this epiphany of, Rocco, you started at MIFRE and you've been training your whole life. This is an opportunity, Jake, to impart knowledge, to
Mhm.
teach all of our department, because the responsibility for professional development is our entire department. From recruits all the way up to our deputy chiefs, we're training civilians, training plan partially for them as well. Volunteers integrated with them, very robust training programs. And for 3 months, I failed because I was selfish. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. But once I got it, and it just clicked in my brain of the purpose, and literally, you are doing God's work, training the next generation, because what you share with them, the skills, the technical knowledge, the leadership skills, the soft skills, the hard skills, all those buzzwords that we talk about, at some point is going to save a life. It's going to save a citizen's life, or it's going to save their life. And that is the best part about someone pointing to you and saying, Rocco, tag, you're it. And I think we have to get over that. It's like, wow, you're pulling me out of operations. Now get over it.
Yeah.
There's a greater good, and that greater good is teaching the next generation to serve our community. That's what we are.
Yep. So where does the talent management model fit into this? And can you go into a little more depth about that? Because when you sent that to me, I was like, I'm going to look this up, but I didn't because I wanted it to be fresh for me. I have no qualms about not understanding it, so I would love for you to explain it to me.
It's based on the military model, right? And that's where it comes from. And listen, at the training academy, I'm going to be very honest. We will steal anything out there that makes sense and that is relevant to our agency, then that promotes our firefighters. Hands
Right?
down, I don't care. But at the same token, we share everything. You ask any department across this great country, when they call Fairfax County Training Division and they ask for curriculum, when they ask for lesson plans, we share everything. We share everything
That's
because
nice.
it's that brotherhood and sisterhood of promoting good instruction and good methodology across the United States. And in turn, we've had departments share stuff with us that's been awesome. But for us, that talent management model is based on national models, right? We don't do anything without looking at number one, the reasons why, right? So we base everything we do from recruit training all the way through all of our officer corps on national models. What's the National Fire Academy doing? What are the I Chiefs doing? What's NFPA doing, right? And what are your fire service specific colleges doing? So our talent management model is based on that. And for us, it's a continuum of training. It's just this scope of training that starts at the recruit firefighter level and goes through every single rank all the way up to our fire chief. That's
So
our
they get to they have a clear path to follow if they want to.
yes, if they want to. If they
That's
want to.
amazing.
But here's the problem though, Jake. Let's say you only have officer training, right? Officer leadership training, officer development academies. Well, then what if I decide in my career never to be an officer and I'm happy just being a driver, a chauffeur, a technician, or just a firefighter? There's nothing wrong with being that, right? That's awesome stuff. But you may never capture those folks in that leadership training, in those very specific character based training, right? You're going to miss them because they chose not to promote. So our continuum encompasses those individuals that are satisfied at being a firefighter for 25, 20 years.
Mhm.
That's the continuum that matters. And we've done that. We've incorporated training that's encompassed the entire department to make sure that we're not missing individuals when there's new training components based on leadership or something new when it comes to emotional intelligence, which we taught. Um, that's the way we capture our folks.
It's
Throughout
funny you say that. Look at here. Let's see. Emotional intelligence team
2-0.
2-0, leadership 2-0, emotional intelligence
I've got that.
2-0.
Got that book.
I am obsessed with emotional intelligence. I'm actually working. I've got a class coming up in the winter. I'm delivering on it because, to your point, emotional intelligence and leadership really they are talent development, right? They make you get in part of a system that benefits everybody outside that system, the community and the other people. I think it's fantastic, and you don't see a lot of people talking about emotional intelligence, and they don't understand it. Where the first step, no matter who you read, when it comes to emotional intelligence, almost everybody agrees that the first step is self awareness. You have to be aware of you, and we've already talked about the ego part of it, and had you and I not realized that we were making mistakes, that we were being ego driven firefighters, we would never be able to progress through the steps of emotional intelligence. Number one is it's self aware. And if you're teaching that to newer recruits, if you're teaching that to seasoned firefighters, if you're teaching that to lieutenants, captains, chiefs, you're making everything better. You just are. I think that is freaking amazing. And that's another reason I like Fairfax. I think Fairfax takes this stuff seriously. Some people, now I could be wrong. I know whenever somebody is in a fire department and somebody brags about their fire department, they think about the negative parts, you know. But I love that place, and I can honestly say I've said this before. If I could do it all again, when I left the military as a firefighter, I was looking for a place to land, and I looked at Dallas, Fort Worth, where I ended up was Lexington, which I loved Lexington. But if I go back in time, I would have applied for Fairfax over and over until you guys hired me. I love that department, and you're just kind of making the case for me. You know, you care about your people, you care about your community.
We do. We really do. I mean, we've got an expanding community. Heck, when I was first hired in 1995, I mean, I think we were at a population of maybe 650, 700,000, if even that. Now we're at 1.3 million residents. It is a growing. We're running out of land, so when you can't grow out, you grow up. So the
Mm-hmm.
high-rise districts are popping up, and they are in Reston, popping up with massive high-rises tied to our subway system, our metro system. And then, of course, in Tyson's, which is huge when it comes to high rises. So we're growing up. We're getting bigger as a department. We're getting bigger as a community. You just have to be prepared. And I think that's where that talent management model comes into place, right? And if you look at, functional experience, broadening experience, uh, strategic leadership, it's all part of that talent management model, right? And it's almost, well, it is. It's in. We have it in our document. It's in the shape of a pyramid, right? All that functional experience is down here. Everyone gets that functional experience at the bottom of the pyramid. As you go up, it's broadening experience, right? Those officer development, those certification courses. And then at the very top of that pyramid is your strategic leadership training, right? Those are the movers and shakers that are going to make decisions that impact the agency, all the personnel in the agency at the 1 year mark from now, at the 3 year mark from now, at the 5 year mark from now, down over the horizon. That's the strategic leadership training that we have to give our folks. Because think about it, how many people come into the fire service being a project manager, being a formally trained in strategic leadership? Not very many.
Oh,
Very many. So that's our job within professional development to make sure that we have those classes, those programs researched, vetted, and in place so that if we have a deputy chief or a rising battalion chief that says, hey, I want to take this class on strategic leadership, awesome. We've got that for you. And we've partnered with universities in and around Fairfax County to make sure we're tied in at the higher education level. And you have to be, because these are the people, Jake, that do it every day. They're formally trained educators
mhm.
at the university level. That's not my forte.
Right.
But I'm gonna default to them. I'm gonna defer to them and say, this is what we're looking for. Let's craft a program together. And we're currently doing that with a local university to develop a strategic leadership and risk management certificate program
Oh, that's awesome.
for our
Now,
senior leadership.
let me ask you this: with all the talent management, the talent retention, the professional development, there has to be a series of knowledge checks infused, right? Or you're just telling people stuff. How do you know what is your system in place for knowing that they're understanding your message? For example, you already mentioned like certificates and all that, but what about like do you have annual evaluations, or for new guys do you have like quarterly evaluations? What do you have in place that checks to see if all this hard work you all are putting into your people is actually landing with the people?
Great question, Jake. And it's hard because, you send out surveys, right? Take a normal fire. Again, all of our certification courses are NFPA certification courses, right? Our instructor classes or officer classes that we teach. You send out those surveys. What is your return on those surveys? Maybe a third,
Mhm.
maybe a quarter of the
Yep.
students will actually give you feedback. I look at it like this, especially when it comes to leadership. I think one of your benchmarks or one of your evaluations that you can look at, and if you look at the data, draw down on the data, what are your complaints? What are your internal complaints that you're receiving, let's say, to your IA department? For us, it's our professional standards. How many complaints are being driven or passed up to your professional standards officer for integrity based issues, for character based issues, right? And how many complaints are you receiving from the community because we had a citizen that was treated like crap by a suppression crew, by an EMS crew, right? I think those are the benchmarks that you have to look at. How many complaints are going to civil service? How many grievances do you have? Um, I think those are benchmarks that you can evaluate to say, is our leadership training working? Is our character based training working? Because if it's working, then we should start to see over time, because it does take time, because these are all journeys, right? Leadership is a journey. And
Mm-hmm.
training in leadership and emotional intelligence and bias training, those are all journey type programs in the sense that they take time to really sink in to your agency and to your people, right? And even throw conflict management as well, right? De-escalation, that's huge. But I
Yeah.
think looking and evaluating the number of complaints, grievances, issues that are being passed up to your professional standards office, internal affairs, uh, and grievances going to civil service. And again, also, how many people are you letting go? We hire based on skills and proficiency, right?
Mhm.
Well, typically we fire because of character.
Really? Okay. Well, that's perfect. So one of the metrics you can use, an informal metric, is how many people are actually leaving. So when I first got in the fire service, you never, I mean, nobody left, right? To me, that was unheard of that people would leave the fire department. Now, throughout my career, I've seen people they'll do lateral transfers, and almost every matter of fact, I'd say high 90% probably is all about money, right? When having talked to them, they're like, they make more money. Very few times have I, matter of fact, never. Now think about it. I've never heard somebody say they develop better firefighters. Wow, that just hit me. So that is kind of a cool metric. Is how many people are you losing? What did you change? And now you're not losing them, right? So is that one of the things that you do look at? You're like, okay, we're not losing. Or when you see a lot of people, you lose a lot of people. Do you immediately like put everything under a microscope, or do you let it try to level out first?
I think we have to evaluate it, and we're very fortunate when you leave the agency, when you retire, or even if you're going to leave early before retirement for whatever reason, our fire chief has an exit interview with everyone. Sometimes it's done in person, based on obviously he's a fire chief. He's got a busy schedule, right? Sometimes it
Mhm.
could be done virtually. But that exit interview is important because that's data. And the fire chief's going to ask if you're leaving early, well, why? What are the experiences? Why did you leave early? Again, Jake, that's data. That's
Mhm.
information that can be shared with us so we can recraft a program. We can introduce new elements into a program. If we're failing at the leadership level within our training programs, we can make adjustments, especially if the data shows that, hey, you're failing to meet this benchmark, and we just had 3 people leave the agency, and this is why they left the agency. They stated,
Mhm.
for example, the culture here, or you guys don't offer this, or you're not challenging me enough. There's things that we can adjust within a department, but when it comes to leadership, when it comes to designing the culture, redesigning the culture, within the fire service, within Fairfax, I think those are all elements that we can draw from data. And I think data is important, especially when you're looking at, like I said, all those elements, the grievances, the issues, those exit interviews. That's all information that can be shared and is shared with us.
I think data is important, and you see our job now over the past 10 years has really been driven in all aspects by data. Everything is being done that way. How we attack fires, our strategy tactics, how we pull hose, spray water, all that stuff. So it only makes sense that we apply that same concept to retaining people or understanding why people leave or stay, whatever. So that's amazing. And it seems like to hear you talk about it, that it's actually very, very valuable. I don't know of any time in the past 20 years where I'm at, they've ever done an exit interview ever. And if a department doesn't do an exit interview, I can think of two reasons why they wouldn't. One, they just didn't know it exists. And two, they don't want to hear it.
Mhm.
That's again, ego for the department. So I mean, again, you're making me fall in love with Fairfax all over again. Now, do you hire older 55-year-olds as new recruits asking for a friend?
No, absolutely, absolutely. Jake? we are hiring. I will have an application in your hand at the end of this podcast, my friend.
Oh
I will
my
have you.
goodness.
I will have you. I will call our HR department, and you'll be in the next recruit school,
Oh my
which
goodness.
starts on the 16th of this month. So if you're available, listen. All you have to do is shave.
I look, I'm super handsome no matter what, but I think I'm even more so with this beard, right? Right?
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to comment on it, obviously.
You know what? When I was there, you all had a recruit class while we were there, so we had to share. I can't think of the building name or number or whatever it was, but it looked like it had a little building in there, like a simulated building where they could rappel off of, and they did all their PT in that in the morning. If that tells you anything.
You guys actually started off in the high bay, which is attached to our main
Yes.
classroom facility. So within there is like a 3-story mock-up. We do a lot of training in there. Of course, we have outside. We have the two structure buildings: the A building, which burns Class A material, then our B building, which is our propane building.
Right.
I think you
Well,
guys.
I noticed they were all these guys. So they were playing music really loud. They were enjoying themselves, working out. They were doing it looked like some kind of circuit type deal, all of which I was watching intently. Like it all simulated, fire service stuff. I was really impressed with it. So much so I went and got Rob, and I was like, "Explain to me what's going on." And he's telling me, and I'm like, "I don't see any instructors like yelling at them or telling them what to do. It looks like they're all doing it on their own." He's like, "Yeah, they know the routine. They're in their own routine." And I remember thinking, I've never seen that before. I've seen where they have PT instructors or just plain old instructors telling them what to do, kind of standing over them, watching them. But it appeared to me, at least what little time I was there, that they had this freedom to do stuff, and every single one of them was doing everything they were supposed to do. And you talk about character. Every time that we were doing stuff like setting up tables and doing gear inspection, all that, one of those new guys evidently would just say, or eventually would always say, "Can I help you, sir? Do you need something?" I mean, super respectful. And I remember thinking, wow, these guys really got it together. So I can see that you're not only are you developing the talent you get, but clearly you're hiring the right people. What's in your secret sauce when it comes to hiring these guys and girls that's different from everybody else? Because honestly, I've only seen that a handful of places.
Jake, we haven't lowered our standards, obviously, and the fire chief is committed to keeping our standards the same. Very high standards. You're not going to get in under the wire. You're not going to get in because you know someone. You have to pass the exact same process as everyone else, right? And again, we're competing for the same limited pool of people, and our pay is the same as our neighbors. So if you live further out, it's a challenge for us now to recruit you. We have to have an environment and a department and an agency that is attracting them, right? So what's in our secret sauce? I have to say, I think it goes back to what you just said, the example you just gave, Jake. We empower our recruits from day one. Yeah, we used to have a very regimented military style training academy for our recruits. We've kind of leaned a little bit away from that, and we've kind of flipped that whole classroom model, right? They know what they have to do. I get to our training academy at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I start my day in the gym. And it just so happens that the gym has windows on two sides. Well, the recruits have to walk by to see me every single day that I'm there. And the first thing they see at 5 o'clock in the morning is me working out. That to me is setting the example. That's training.
Yes.
That's physical fitness. That's pride, right? And they see that. Well, I think that example is set, and they're in there working out, doing what they need to do before the instructors even show up. I can see through the window, and their gear is already in order. I can see through the window, they're not even on the clock yet, and they've got their gear and SCBA on, and they're running those stairs, that interior tower that you saw.
That's
Or they're
amazing.
working the sledgehammer on the sled, or they're in some type of PT mode, or they're working out in a crew in their little squad. We just empower them to be adults. We treat them like adults. And I think that's the one thing about Fairfax that maybe separates us from other departments, other recruit training sections, is that you're an adult. You're expected to be an adult, and when you graduate our academy in 6 months, after a few, really not, but we've changed some of our probationary requirements. Literally within a month of being in the field, you're going to be on a transport unit making decisions. You and one other person. We need leaders from day one. That's why we empower them in recruit school. We teach them followership. We teach them leadership. We teach them conflict management skills, because when they enter the field 6 months later, they're going to be making decisions on a two-person transport unit that is going to have a profound impact on the safety of our citizens. We don't wait. We're never going to wait.
That is amazing. And I hope people listening to this are going to email me at 3.firefighter at gmail.com and tell me about their department and how they develop people. Because I got to be honest with you, been to a lot of great departments. I've seen a lot of great systems in place. And I feel like that Fairfax takes their character development, their professional development, their talent development as serious as can they put their gear on and go into a burning building? Usually that's the one metric. Can you do that? Can you stretch a line and go into a burning building? And, spoiler alert, anybody can do that. There's nothing special about that. It's viewing your community for what it is, viewing your department for what it is, and seeing where you fit in. And you know what? Not everybody fits in. This job ain't for everybody. This shit ain't for everybody. And there was a time in my career, if somebody had told me, "Hey, listen, you're being a lazy piece of shit. This job ain't for you," they would have been wrong. I got lucky, and I kind of snapped myself out of it. But that developing your people, that's developing your department. And in developing your department, you're developing your community. You're protecting your community. Brother, I love it. I love everything about it. You've just made me love Fairfax more. I think I'll get a tattoo on my neck that says, well, first it'll say Blasetti, right? Obviously. Then after that, it'll say Fairfax, and then it'll be a line through it, and then it'll say Inglewood Fire Department. How's that?
I like it. I like it. Also, too, I know why character is so important, right? And again, you look at the definition of character. To me, it's doing the right thing when no one's watching, right?
Yeah.
And that means a lot. Jake, you're driving home. There's an elderly male changing his tire on the highway. What do you do? That's character, right?
Yep.
3 o'clock in the morning when you're running that same individual that's called you 3 times today, and you're coming off a fire where you're emotionally and physically drained, and this person once again calls you at 3 in the morning because they had a pain in their side. Character is showing up and treating them like family.
Right.
Treating them how they want to be treated, not showing up, taking vitals, getting a refusal, and leaving. They called you for a reason, Jake. And in today's society, when you have individuals in crisis, when you have behavioral health issues in our society, a lot of times these folks are just calling to talk to someone. And here we show up and we're not going to have any character. We're going to treat them like crap. Character is showing up and showing them compassion, showing them that you care, and treating them like they're a part of your family, like they're your mother, your father. That's character. And if you're not teaching that in your agency, then you're missing the mark. We're all tired at 3 in the morning. We all work 24-hour shifts. We're all exhausted. We're all sleep deprived. We all know someone who's suffering with cancer. We get it. We understand the impact of this job. But at the end of the day, someone is calling you for service because they don't know what to do. Our job is to show up and solve their problem and treat them with respect.
Holy shit. There's your next video right there. Matter of fact, I'm cutting that and making a separate video and putting it on TikTok, and I'm putting it on my YouTube and Facebook and everything, because that is, I tell you what, you ended this just like I'd hoped we started it, and we did, is the passion you have for your fire service and your community. And I'm going to go further than that. I think it seems like to me your passion is for your community, and it just happens to be channeled through the fire service. I got goosebumps, brother. I got goosebumps. That's exactly it. I thank you. I think that's wonderful. I think everybody I've met from Fairfax has been amazing. Everybody I've met from Fairfax has that character. They're upstanding people. They have the empathy. They're good people. With that said, though, now let's flip it a little bit. Let's wrap this up the way I love to wrap up my podcast. You got to tell me what was the best firehouse prank you've ever played or had played on you.
I tell you, man, there are some that are never going to be shared in public ever.
Yeah, the best ones usually aren't.
Yes, for obvious reasons. But there's one many years ago. There was construction happening at a firehouse, two-story firehouse. They were fixing the stairs that go up to the upstairs. So the construction workers built a platform. This is like 30 feet up in the air, so they could access the ceiling, take care of the water leaks. 30 feet up in the air was a platform. Well, we took one of our bunkmates and we took their entire belongings, bed, dresser, 100% took everything and rebuilt the entire bunk room 30 feet in the air. And it was around the holidays. So there was a Christmas tree, there was Christmas lights. Everything was functional, literally. Sheets, everything, toothpaste, toothbrush, towel, hanging on the dresser. I still have that picture today somewhere, but that's one that I can share publicly. The rest may get me in trouble.
Yeah, normally I love asking people the firehouse pranks because I hear a great prank like that because that takes a lot of effort to do what you're talking about. But some of my favorite ones are like when I stop recording, like here in a second, I'm going to say, hey, thank you for being on. And I'm going to say goodbye, but we're not going to hang up just yet. I'll just like to check and make sure everything went well. And that's when they're like, all right, now listen, I couldn't say this on your show, but this is what we did. I'm like, holy shit, that's good.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, Jake, you know what? I'm very fortunate, back in 1995 when I was hired by Fairfax, man. I tell you, it was a dream come true. We have a very, very strong department, right? That's changing, that's evolving based on the needs of the community, needs of the agency, and needs of our members, right? So we have to address those needs as well, too. But I'm just blessed. I still believe it is the best job in the world. I'm very lucky to work in this profession. And it goes back to how we started. My dash is getting smaller every day. And that is troubling to me because I'm only going to be around so much longer to work this great job. And then once I actually leave, I don't know what the F I'm going to do, man. I'm going to be lost, Jake. I'm going to grow a beard and look just like you.
Oh, you would be a handsome son of a bitch if you do that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
No, my wife would be jealous. That's why she can't watch it. She sees you. I'm done.
You know what? I get that all the time. And I tell you what, it's more of a curse than a blessing being this handsome because everybody, they see how pretty the package is. They don't care what's on the inside, brother. That is terrible. Yeah. And with that, I appreciate you being on my show. This has not been anything but more than I expected. It's been a wonderful thing. And I want to leave the people listening with this. If you know somebody that's looking to be a firefighter or making a move to a different department, I know there's great departments out there that I've never heard of or I've ever set foot in, but the ones that I have, I'm going to say this. You need to look at Fairfax. You need to look at Pearland down in Houston. You need to look at Northville Township in Michigan and FDNY in New York City. If you want your people to be cared for, that's what you need to do. With that, brother, thank you for being on my show. I got a feeling you're going to be back on it.
Appreciate it, Jake. Thanks, brother. You have a good day, man. Love you.
Love you too, buddy. Take care.
See you, brother.
Today's podcast was sponsored by Fire Facilities, industry-leading designers and manufacturers of realistic, built-to-last training structures for more than 30 years. Make your training count. Visit firefacilities.com for more information.